Hey guys, so today I'm gonna show you how to make a creamy butternut squash soup. It's a recipe that I've made a few times and it's really delicious. So let's get started. This is my own recipe that I've made up using stuff from the internet that I found, and this is a vegan recipe. Again, you can definitely change it to a non-vegan or a vegetarian recipe. What do I use for it? I use a cinnamon stick, I use cloves. Generally I make the maripo whatever mix that is consistent of celery, carrots, and an onion. I may use two. Maybe I should use two. So I'm gonna use two onions. They're one is bigger than the other. So generally I would say two small ones or one big one. So I'm gonna clean and start cooking this. So because it's pretty hard, I need to make sure that it's cooked throughout really well. I will clean it after because I find it's too hard to clean when it's like in this form. So first I just cut it and then I get rid of the seeds. There's a little bit of an imperfection that I'm gonna cut off. Oh, it's a bigger imperfection than I thought. As you can see in the video, I have a special way of making the butternut squash for the butternut squash creamy soup. I pre-cook it basically. I cut it into smaller pieces, which I then throw into the pot. They boil for a while until the butternut squash becomes soft. Then I take them out and take off the skin one by one. I know it's a bit of a strange process, but I find it's a lot easier on my hands, and physically I don't have to struggle with taking it off. It also helps be more sustainable toward the vegetable because I don't have to cut off any unnecessary pieces. The skin comes off easily and nicely. I'm just gonna open my cream. I either use a can or I usually use the big ROD coconut milk or cream. It depends on how heavy you like it. So the coconut milk and cream, the ones that I buy, they're either 60% or 70%, so it actually doesn't make that much of a difference, to be frank with you. I realize I'm not opening this correctly, but that's just how I do it. So the benefit to getting cans is that you're using it in one day. You have like a recipe like this, for example, then it's a good idea. Otherwise, it's better to buy the bigger ones, I find. So we're gonna measure 1 cup. So that's a cup. And we have to pick out all the cloves. The cloves can be pretty sneaky, so you have to be very careful in picking them out from the liquid. I pour it partially into the little blender that I have. Obviously, if you have a big industrial sized blender or a full size blender instead of my magic bullet type blender, you can do the whole thing at once. And just before the blending process starts, I generally add in the rest of my spices. As you saw, I already had the cinnamon stick and the cloves were in there, which I then took out. Now I just add the sea salt and the Cajun, which I actually added only this time. I just wanted to experiment and wanted to see how it would taste. I have to say it was a mistake. It doesn't make the soup taste better, so I wouldn't add it if I were you. But definitely experiment with my recipe, because that's always a great way to find out what you like and what you dislike. So the nutmeg I always use whole. It's easy enough to grind it right into the soup, and I find it's better. The fresher you can make your soup, the better it will taste. But of course, just like the butternut squash, sometimes certain things are physically difficult or not enjoyable. So if you need to use some sort of a quicker way to get things done, do that instead of not enjoying the process. So there you go. So again, this soup is really good for your health for a bunch of reasons. It has a lot of vitamin A, a ton of vitamin C, and it's really good for your heart, for your blood vessels, for your eyesight, and it also helps you digest things properly, and it pushes things through more easily. You can have it on a regular basis. Make sure to leave the cinnamon stick all the way to the end, because that gives it more of a cinnamony feel. When you're blending, don't add too much water, because sometimes you can make it a little bit watery. So try to add as little water as possible, because you do want it to be quite thick. The other thing that I have to add, that the cloves, you should add only 1 teaspoon or a teaspoon and a half, otherwise it can be a little bit overpowering, and you should take them out fairly quickly. You should take them out after boiling them for maybe 5 minutes, because otherwise they start to fall apart and then they start to break down in the soup, and it makes it a stronger flavor, but a stronger flavor that's not necessarily good. So that's it. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time.